Hanemokiklos, kanemos sedokimazi.
Hainan, China's southernmost island, set in the South China Sea. Often called the Hawaii of China, it is a land of tropical heat, heavy air, and constant wind. For centuries, this island stood at the edge of the known world, remote, isolated, shaped by the ocean. Fishermen and traders crossed these waters, leaving behind a culture deeply connected to nature. Today, modern cities rise beside quiet villages, and luxury resorts meet untouched coastline. A place of beauty and quiet intensity. But one thing never changes: the wind. It shapes the land and challenges everyone who moves against it.
Seems like a good idea at the time.
Packed into a flying shoebox, we made our way to Hainan. A short bus ride later, reality slowly started to sink in. Hotel check-in. Bikes still in boxes. Legs still fresh. Bikes out of the boxes, tools everywhere. And somehow, everything came together. A quick briefing to get us ready for the days ahead. The important parts, like safety, mostly in Chinese, just to make sure it doesn't get too easy. Haikou Old Quarter. A glimpse into a different time. Narrow streets, faded facades, and a mix of cultures shaped over centuries. Once a busy trading hub, now a place to slow down. For a moment, the noise fades, and the journey feels a little less rushed. Breakfast. Finally something that feels easy. No rush, no pressure. Just coffee, food, and a quiet start to the day. Out on the street, a few final checks. And then, we roll.
Yeah, easy.
After a massive 8 kilometers. First stop of the day. Somewhere far behind, in group 2. A flat. Nothing serious? Just enough to slow things down. Back on the road, figuring out where we're actually supposed to ride. Bike lane. Road. Somewhere in between. Postcard weather. Clear skies, not a cloud in sight. Perfect conditions. At least on paper. And then, the wind shows up. From the front. From the side. Sometimes both at once. Animokai close says hello. No waiting. So, just the two of us. The temperature climbs. The speed doesn't. And it's getting hot. Second refill. We stop. The others are leaving. Again. Somewhere along the way, we run into two more riders. No navigation. In a country they've probably never been to before. Clever idea. We, on the other hand, fully prepared. Maps, routes, everything. And then, out of nowhere, a monumental Peifang arch, marking the way. Longzhou. Everything slows down. Midday heat. And the whole town seems asleep. Siesta. We roll in. Looking for food. Somewhere?
Four mini glasses and everything is gone.
Okay, 明天呢?
Last kilometers of the day. Not fast. But moving. The hotel finally in sight. Shower, rest. And then straight out again. Dinner. Hoping for something decent. And maybe a cold beer. Quick breakfast. No time to linger. Bikes ready. Day 2. We roll. Out of the city. As quickly as possible. Rolling into the day. 165 kilometers ahead. At least. That's what we thought. The road opens up. And we settle into a rhythm. For now?
It's going to be a long day.
You never really know what's waiting on the road. Traffic. Changes. Sometimes. Quite literally. Cows. Back on the road. And the pace picks up. A bit too fast. Maybe. It feels good now. But that usually doesn't last. Photo stops. Risky? Because once you stop, nobody does.
Oh, this racer. Good talk, I'm stopping.
Finally, a proper stop. "5 minutes," they said. Plenty of time. Enough for a quick break. Maybe even a bathroom stop. I was back in 2 minutes. Just in time to hear them counting down. 20. 10. 9. 8. So much for 5 minutes. Chasing again. Trying to close the gap. For about 10 kilometers. And then? This bridge. That was it. The end of my membership in the fast group.
There's a footpath on the bridge. Yes, to take some photos. Yeah.
Rolling down the bridge. Finally taking it easy. Through the town. No rush. Lunch break.
Welcome
Come,
back.
finish your day.
Welcome.
You also finish your day.
Everything alright? All good?
Recommended, think of it this way. If you crash your bike, you get a brand new bike.
Ja, komm schon. Warte.
Ja, stimmt. Das wäre immer so einfach.
Back on the road. And something catches our eye. Hainan Island. Looks interesting enough. Worth a closer look. So we take a small detour. Under the bridge. And suddenly, we pass a few princesses. Not quite what we expected. But, why not? Ocean Flower Island. Built on a massive scale. With equally massive ambition. Apparently ranked among the top 10 ugliest buildings in China. For reasons like questionable design choices and a certain lack of restraint. At around 35 degrees, we stop for a photo in front of a giant snowman. Makes perfect sense. The whole place feels a bit like Sentosa. Just bigger. Much bigger. And almost completely empty. Pretty much no one around. Except us. Taking a few extra kilometers for it. Last stop of the day. One more chance to rest. Because from here on, there's no hiding. Animocaclos waiting for us. Finally. Almost there. A long, endless road. Lined with Chinese flags every 50 meters. Getting closer. And of course, one last climb. Before the hotel. Dinner time. By now, the group had split into a few smaller ones. No more racing. Just a slow walk to the restaurant. At some point, we even passed a place offering grilled dog. We decided, maybe not today. Something else sounded better. And a cold beer.
Because we was hungry. We come out 6:30.
6:30?
Yeah.
Already in the New Jersey?
Yep. It's very lush.
Recovery day. Shorter distance. Easy profile. At least. That was the plan. We roll out. And it actually starts well. A nice downhill. This could work. Then we turn right. And suddenly, there it is. A wall of mountain. No way around it. No tunnel. No shortcut. Just straight up. And the road. Well, it used to be a road. Gravel. Dust. Loose surface. More hills. Less speed.
Yeah, recovery day.
And then, he's back. The man with the hammer. Right behind me. Every pedal stroke, a reminder. This hurts.
have
We have
no.
an experience in taking everyone.
Okay.
Just go to any hotel.
Back on the road. Heat. No
Covered in
shade.
white.
Nowhere to hide. At this point, if there had been a drink stand, cold beer, proper shade, I wouldn't have moved another meter.
I think we need to
Why would
somehow
they
cross the
complain
river,
about
No,
right? The
they're getting
outflow
lost?
of the
No
reservoir.
bike to follow us. Look,
Yeah,
your map is not set correctly. Look.
Oh, that's what they are complaining.
Oh, many complaints.
At some point, that was it. Game over. No more watts. No more energy. Maybe the power output of a tea light. At best. Emergency stop. Early
Every time I
lunch.
reach, I'm getting leftover food. Like,
Yeah, okay.
I look at it and I'm like,
Yours was always lousy.
yeah,
Ours was always fresh.
leftovers with some rice which is not even hot anymore. I'll look at it and I'm not interested in lunch.
Lutz also said
If you
it's
don't
very
mind,
nice.
we
should tell the driver, tell the driver to get this for us.
No, I think he get this one right.
No, no, no.
and the green.
No, he got the one that we bought.
Because it's
yesterday.
light.
We still had 30 to 35 kilometers to go. Do I remember them? Not really. I was in full autopilot mode. Dongfang. Finally within reach. At least. That's what it felt like. A few more kilometers. 4, maybe. But somehow. They felt endless. Long, straight roads. Stretching all the way to the harbor. No shade. No variation.
There's the
Just
sea.
forward. And then, we see them. The fast group. Already on their way back from lunch. Heading to the hotel. While we were still on our way in. Different speeds. Different timelines. Same destination.
Hey!
Lunch came a bit late. So plans changed. Lunch became dinner. But first, the hotel. Which, of course, meant going back. Same road. Same heat. Just a little slower this time. Eventually, we made it. Room. Shower. Air conditioning. Back to life. And later, dinner. Well deserved. Recovery day. Sure. Morning routine. Less talking. More focus. Everything feels familiar by now. Bikes ready. Another day?
This didn't feel right.
We roll out. Nice and controlled. Out of town. Straight along the coast. Flat route, they said. And to be fair, it was. Then we pass the first wind turbines. All facing south. Exactly where we're heading. Which means, the wind comes from there. At first. Still manageable. In a group, you don't really feel it. But the moment you slow down, even just for a second, you know what's waiting? A wall of air. And this was just the beginning. And then, it starts. The wind picks up. Not a breeze. A constant push from the front. Stronger with every kilometer. In a group. Still manageable. But the moment you fall back, you're on your own. Riding straight into a wall of air. Speed drops. 30. 25? Sometimes barely 20. At the same time, the temperature keeps rising. No clouds. No shade. No mercy. Just the sun. Slowly working on us. The group starts to stretch. Then break apart. At some point. We're down to 3. A bit later. Just 2. And from there on. It's no longer about riding well. It's about holding on. Getting to lunch. Somehow. Without stopping. Without giving up. Still going. Same road. Same heat. Jayasuo? At some point. We made it. Down to 3 riders. Not exactly fast anymore. But still moving. Somehow. Half alive. But still on the bike. And at this stage, that's all that mattered. Half the group already gone. Early start. Long route. 150. We go shorter. 115. Along the coast.
says, right, we'll be doing this one. We are doing this one as well, it's fine. Then up to here, right, is all the airport.
Yeah.
Weak, like a bottle empty.
At one point, the road just turns into a market. Stalls everywhere. Food, goods, people, and somehow, no clear way through. Strange, but kind of charming. And then, after just
Okay,
20
go ahead, and if you
kilometers,
see the van, please tell them
Weak.
I'm here.
like a bottle empty. Meanwhile, the mountain group? Different route. Different speed. And then, the ocean. Finally. Turquoise water. Waves. Open space. Everything says the same thing. Stop. Get off the bike. Jump in. Just for a moment. Nothing else matters. Lunch in Sanya. Quick stop. Refuel. Some bikes needed attention. Small repairs. Necessary ones. And then, back on the road. Still a few kilometers to go.
Huh?
Want to drink? Perfect space.
Okay.
Huh?
Okay. How much? Okay.
After the last unofficial stop, we're back on the road. And of course, one more climb. Not long, they would probably say. Just long enough. At this point, every meter feels like a personal insult. So we grind our way up, slowly, with absolutely no rush left, just the firm decision to get it over with. And then, the tunnel. Shade, finally. Civilization. Hope. On the other side, downhill. For a brief moment, we even feel like proper cyclists again. And ahead. The city. The finish, finally in sight. No more surprises, please. After that, we roll into the city. And straight into reality. Traffic, people, tourists everywhere. Suddenly, it's not about surviving the ride anymore, it's about not running into someone every 5 seconds. Finding the hotel, of course, is its own little adventure again. Same procedure as every day. And just to make sure we don't get too comfortable. Cobblestones. Perfect. Exactly what you want after a long day on the bike. My backside definitely disagrees. But somehow, we make it. We're here. Finally.
So many. Well, after the banana,
Yeah, very bloated. I think it's very big. I think it's like half the level.
wow, this place is bad.
I don't know. Yeah. Okay, maybe Richard
文章鸡、醉鸡、香草鸭。
Finally, nothing to do.
Doing nothing all day is actually quite exhausting. No cycling. For me, at least. Some of the others. I didn't see at all. Still out riding, or somewhere else entirely. Hard to tell. But honestly, anything under 20% loss is acceptable. My day. Sleep in. Look at the clock. Decide that's not happening. And go back to sleep. Eventually getting up and heading out for the first challenge of the day, breakfast. Which turned out to be complicated. No bread, no bakery. So, hot chocolate and a cookie. Good enough. The rest of the day. In and out. Hotel. Beach. Back again. Out again. At some point I seriously considered installing a revolving door in my room. Eventually, the sea, sun, sand, waves. And absolutely no reason to move. And honestly, that was enough.
Yeah, next time. But then you have to add one more zero at the end.
Dinner was something else. An underwater restaurant. Important detail, the restaurant is underwater. The buffet is not. Glass everywhere, fish all around. And us, somewhere in the middle, trying to decide what to eat first. Which wasn't easy, because the answer was, everything. Steak, seafood, sushi. All of it. As much as you want. After the last few days, that felt slightly unreal. No wind. No suffering. Just food, a drink. And finally sitting still. Honestly? Hard to complain. So. The break is over. Back on the bike. Did I miss it? Not really. I could have happily stayed at the beach or in a bar doing absolutely nothing. But no. 6 o'clock wake up, 7 o'clock departure. Why so early? Simple, it's cooler before 10. And for once, everyone was ready. All riders, all bikes. More or less. We roll out heading north, passing luxury resorts, each one bigger and more futuristic than the last. Traffic. Let's call it creative. Horns as communication, rules as suggestions, lane changes as spontaneous ideas. And yes, we adapted. And just like that, without much thinking, we were back in it.
Let's see what the wind has planned today.
So how was your underwater experience?
Yesterday, the dinner? Absolutely fantastic. Yeah.
After breakfast, we roll out again. Heading north along the coast. And surprisingly, this actually feels like the scenic route. Less chaos,
Photos in a hurry.
less suffering. More ocean, palm trees. And space to breathe again. For once, the ride isn't about survival. Just smooth roads, warm air. And the feeling that maybe, just maybe, the island is finally being nice to us. At least until the next stop in the middle of nowhere. After that stop, we roll out again. And naturally, cyclists are incapable of learning. Myself included. So somehow, I end up with the fast group again. Ahead of us, the mountain area. Only 2 climbs today. Which, in cycling language, usually means, prepare for suffering. The first one. Manageable? Still breathing? Still functional? The second climb, however, different story. Somewhere halfway up, I seriously started thinking that solo cycling tours might actually be a wonderful idea. Quiet. Peaceful. No one disappearing into the distance while I slowly question my life choices. At the next drink stop, I actually planned to take it easy from there. Just ride at a sensible pace, enjoy the scenery. Survive the day in comfort for once. But purely by accident, I ran into the racing group again. And somehow, that seemed like a good idea. So off we went. Fast again. To be fair, the pace was surprisingly manageable at first. Probably because everyone still had functioning legs. Unlike previous days, I even managed to stay with them instead of immediately disappearing into the horizon behind them. Kilometer after kilometer. Still there? Barely breathing, occasionally questioning my decisions. but technically still attached to the group. And somehow, against all expectations, I actually made it all the way to lunch without getting dropped. At that moment, I promised myself, never again. Which is exactly what I said the last time too.
I think you are missing the German dress.
We will see again at around 11.
For once, we actually started together. The entire group. All riders, all bikes. Moving in roughly the same direction at roughly the same speed.
So fast.
A rare and beautiful sight on this tour. We rolled north along the coast, gentle hills, wide curves. Almost peaceful. At around 30 kilometers per hour, life suddenly felt surprisingly good again. Smooth roads, ocean views. Even one-handed photo attempts started looking like actual photography. And most importantly, the wind seemed to have overslept for once. No constant battle against invisible forces. No suffering into a wall of air. Just riding. At least for the moment. And somehow, we all already knew this riding together situation probably wouldn't last very long.
What could possibly go wrong today?
After the first stop, planning and reality slowly started drifting apart. Garmin showed a road. Reality? Not so much. Sometimes there was dirt, sometimes grass, and sometimes just a strong feeling that maybe nobody had been there in quite a while. At one junction, the fast group went right. We, the uncle group, went left. Both options looked equally questionable, so naturally we split up. About 10 kilometers later, we somehow met again. Which lasted for approximately 5 minutes before the fast group disappeared into the horizon once more, riding at speeds they casually described as comfortable. We chose a slightly more survival-oriented pace and continued toward the coconut stop.
Yeah, middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
Somewhere.
I also said in the middle
Middle
of
somewhere.
nowhere, they just put up this little cafe.
Yeah.
They have coffee.
哦，现在好走了
Take。a photo of me sitting on the
So when you wear your pictures, it all matches.
对。云南到香格里，到那个
Okay, time for
布达拉宫嘛，再从布达拉宫。
The road started climbing again. Slowly at first. Then properly. No shade, rising temperatures, and the usual question, whose brilliant idea was this route again? But at least the view made up for it. Cliffs, ocean, wind coming in from the coast. Easily one of the best views of the entire tour. One of those moments where you briefly stopped suffering long enough to actually look around. Meanwhile, the fast group had gone ahead again. Which, to be fair, sounded very impressive. Until we later discovered they had also managed to include U-turns, questionable shortcuts, and gravel sections into their high-speed master plan. An important lesson from this tour. Fast riding does not always mean fast arrival. Sometimes it just means getting lost more efficiently. At this point, our group had fully evolved into what can only be described as the snails? Slow, confused, but still moving. Garmin kept insisting there were roads ahead. Reality strongly disagreed. Roads suddenly ended, turned into dirt, grass construction sites. Or simply nothing at all. Every few kilometers came the next classic question. Left or right? And usually, both options were wrong. Then came the next brilliant idea, asking another cyclist for directions. Big mistake. Rule of the day. Never trust a cyclist. They all lie. Thanks to several very confident but highly questionable directions, we added quite a few completely unnecessary kilometers to the tour. Along with multiple U-turns, bonus loops, and increasing levels of confusion. Lunch came far too late. By the time we finally arrived, most of the others were already gone again. Just a few leftover riders. And us. At that point, nobody really cared anymore. The day had already turned into something far longer and more complicated than planned. So we kept going. Through villages, random roads, and whatever Garmin considered navigation. Giving up was never really an option. And somehow, after all the detours and bonus kilometers, we still made it to the hotel.
We have done the right yet.
Wow!
Finally!
Yeah.
Good job! Good job, Cian! Perfect! I saw the van, I was like so happy, but I wasn't sure if it was really the way. He has to do a U-turn, right?
Yeah.
But you didn't, you cut in here, right?
Yeah, we take the traffic.
The final day. And for once, we actually all wore our Hainan jerseys. Progress. A proper team photo at the start, although an after version at the finish line probably would have looked significantly worse. Originally, today was supposed to be over 160 kilometers. After yesterday's navigation chaos and bonus loops, however, I decided to show mercy and shorten the route a bit. A rare moment of intelligent planning. So once again, the group split. Some went for the full version. The rest of us chose the slightly less painful option. We rolled out through Haikou traffic one last time, somehow surviving scooters, cars, buses, and traffic rules that still seemed more like creative suggestions. And surprisingly, for the first hour, things actually felt pretty good. Which, on this tour, is usually an extremely suspicious sign. Somewhere far ahead of us, the fast group was doing fast group things. From what I heard later, this involved speeds well above 30 km per hour, rapid-fire riding through the wind park near Milantu, and apparently enough energy left to admire cows standing next to the road while flying past them at race pace. The videos looked impressive, though. Endless wind turbines, open coastal roads, smooth asphalt. The kind of riding that probably makes you feel like a professional cyclist for a few glorious minutes. Back in reality, the snail group continued at a slightly more survival-oriented pace.
Fuck wind.
Finding the bridge turned into its own little adventure. Garmin, once again, had absolutely no idea what was going on. Luckily, a group of local teenagers on silent assassin scooters appeared out of nowhere and somehow adopted us for the next few kilometers. They guided us all the way to the bridge, rode up with us, and naturally stopped for photos at the top. Which turned out to be perfect timing, because we accidentally surprised the support van and the women's group right in the middle of a full photo session.
Almost done. Almost.
After the bridge, Heiko slowly appeared on the horizon, which sounded encouraging. Until we realized there were still quite a few kilometers left to go. Somewhere along the way, we ran into university cyclists coming back from a race. Fresh legs, race mode still activated. And somehow Hendrik decided this was an excellent moment for one final effort. So the last kilometers turned into a surprisingly fast ride back into the city. Not exactly elegant anymore, but after more than a week on the island, we had become very good at continuing despite questionable levels of energy. One final cola stop. One final push through traffic. And then finish. One full lap around Hainan. And waiting for us, the Pullman Hotel. Proper 5-star luxury, right next to the finish. Honestly? After heat, wind, punctures, wrong turns, bonus kilometers and general suffering, we had absolutely earned this one.
We made it for lunch.
The tour ended exactly the way it should. A great final dinner, way too many stories. And of course only a very small and highly reasonable amount of beer. And the next morning, a proper Pullman breakfast. Finally no survival eating anymore. And just like that, our Hainan tour came to an end.